7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We have ignition.
There was one that was under budget, and then there was one that was like average. And she's like, I'd probably pick the one that, like, by far the most expensive one is the one she would have chosen. I'm like, no, really, if you were actually looking, that's what you would choose? She's like, yeah, I think I would. So I'm like, I don't think she would ever want to move, but I definitely like set it up. Like, if we were looking, would you look at X, right? Like, what would you pick, So I kind of dabble in that, try to check on her, see what's going on.
No, it's true.
Because I'm not as opposed to leaving this area.
Yeah.
But she, with her family being here, and I mean, it is a beautiful area. I just think she will never want to move, right? But
yeah, we're in the same boat.
Yeah.
Although Hannah's way more willing to move just because she never did.
Yeah.
Which we talked about. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough. I mean, dude, this spring has been so cold too. I'm like,
yeah.
This spring alone to me, I'm like, man, the fact that it's May and I still can't even like bike outside consistently.
Yeah.
It's kind of
it starts to get to you a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
You're like, oh yeah, this other stuff I can do.
Yeah.
I get it. Are we recording?
We're recording, so we can
just Rogan this.
In,
we can just Rogan this whole thing,
Yeah.
Slow roll into it and all that.
Yeah, just whatever You got anything you want to talk about?
Here, let's start with, do you have any fun topics that you've been thinking about a lot? Have you, been focused on anything the last week, 2 weeks, or you kind of just like, what, work's been tough and I've been busy, and I know triathlon training has been a little bit tough with you being sick, but do you have anything you've been thinking about?
I've been thinking about work.
Yeah,
I've been thinking about artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Agents. How to build them.
Yeah. Which, mind you, that's a lot to think about, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of it's a crazy game right now because it's a industry that's evolving in real time.
Yeah.
So like the state of the art is changing every week, and there's different ways you can build AI, and it's hard to do when you have timelines you're trying to build it against.
Yeah.
But
yeah. It makes it difficult, right?
Yeah.
So in the current, I know we were going to talk a little bit about the economy, and maybe we could just start there. But, current events wise, economy, obviously oil prices, there's a lot of things going on. I was listening to Trump yesterday, right before he went to China. And, they're asking him all these questions about the current state of what's going on. And it's very intriguing. So like, I listen to Trump talk. I like to listen to what he actually says. I don't really look at the news coverage of what he says, if that makes sense. So I'm always very intrigued by like, what is the thing that he's actually saying? How is it swayed or changed in the media? What points do they try to make versus what he's actually saying? But what he kind of alluded to, he's like, listen, this war is almost over. He won't call it a war, by the way. He says it's an operation. So you could take that, however you want, but that's just his words. Again, I'm just going to say what his words are. I'm not going to use media coverage of this, but this is an operation in his opinion. And he basically said, with oil prices and all the things going on, he's like, hey, listen, as soon as we beaten the hell out of Iran, right? As soon as this part is concluded, oil prices will come back down. Inflation will go back down to really awesome numbers, right? So, when you're looking at the economy and, the actual numbers, it is kind of hard right now because, you're getting some inflated things, right? Like you can't really get a sense of where it's going.
Yeah.
And Trump has so much control of that, and he knows that, right? So like he actually talks about it when people ask him questions like, listen, did I want to go do this? No. Like, is this where did I want to go take care of this thing? Not really, right? We were doing well. Our economy was doing well. Gas prices were pretty low. Inflation was low. you know, like if you actually look at the numbers before they decided to go to this operation, he was kind of saying like, man, we're doing so well. But he's like, hey, listen, the reason I had to go do this was because if Iran actually got that nuclear weapon developed, they could drop it on you guys and you won't be here to ask me those questions. So do you not want me to deal with that? Or, you know, so his point is like, listen, I don't want to go do this, but I had to. And, you know, it's just something that we had to kind of take care of. And everyone in the world kind of agrees with the U.S., I think. And I do see what he's saying. Of course, people are in a hurry. They want it to be over, which is not, I'm not saying they're right or wrong, but I do agree with Trump on like, hey, I got to take care of the bully. I got to take care of some stuff. We certainly are feeling the short-term effects though. You know, that's real. Like you're going to feel the gas prices. You're going to feel inflation. Prices of things are going up quickly, right? You're going to go buy things at the grocery store. Prices are now different a little bit, right? So, you know, for us normal people, it does affect us, right? Like obviously we're feeling it, but I did like what he said though. He's like, listen, I understand. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to hurt the consumer. It will be over very shortly. And I'm actually going to trust him. And I really think it will be. And I think you have to be patient with it because he wants the best deal and he wants the U.S. to get the most out of this. But it doesn't mean you don't feel some pain though in the moment. That's what I would say. Like we certainly feel pain. I go fill up a car with gas now. Like, oh, you kind of think about it a little bit more, right? So I'm willing to kind of suffer through that. And I'm sure people are mad about it, but you know, if it means that the world is safer, if it means Iran's not going to go nuke a bunch of people, you know, I tend to agree with his decision to at least end that part. Yeah, I'd love if gas prices went down quickly, and I'd love if the timeline was like 2 months, it's over. I think what's happened is I don't know if he underestimated these people or just misread them, but they are crazy. They are, you know, it's like, I don't know, man. It's Iranian leadership. They've taken out how many waves of them, right? And I think you and Nick Merkel talked about the initial phase. This was a while ago now, but it's like, you know, the third wave, fourth wave, whatever it is, they're still crazy. To me, like that's what I see at least. These people are insane. They just, you know, they're okay with getting bombed and killed and going to their heaven, and they think that's great. You know, they think it's fine to kill your own people. They think it's fine to do what they've done for 47 years, which is terrible. I think they're terrible people. So I think Trump is just, hey, I'm done with this. Like this is not happening anymore. To his best ability, obviously, but because we're not going to go in and actually change the regime. Sorry, I can't talk. But I think he's at least trying to get a good deal. He's trying to make sure the world understands I'm in it for the world. I'm trying to make the world a better place. So long-winded answer, I think the economy is in a good place. Short term, we're feeling effects, but I truly actually think that once this ends, this operation, or some people call it a war, whatever you want to call it, I think we're actually in a good place. I think the investments into the U.S. have been strong. I think companies in the private sector are doing pretty well. Inflation will go down pretty low levels, below 2%. And I think truly, like, I'm not saying Trump is the greatest president ever, because I'm not. Again, it's kind of hard to decipher, right? Right now, I think if you look at things historically, Bill Clinton, I thought, did a great job. Now, they don't have to agree with him on everything he did, but he did a good job on the economy, right? I mean, it's been proven by the numbers he put out. Reagan did a good job. There are certain presidents that, wow, they did better than Trump. I'm not saying Trump's a bad president, but there are other ones that have done better by the numbers. Okay, so that's what I would say about it. I think he's trying his best to make it better. I don't know. What do you got? What do you got to sling at me?
I mean, I think that most people would agree that the regime in Iran when this started was not good, right? Like it wasn't benefiting the people of Iran. It wasn't. I mean, it was a pretty destabilizing force in the Middle East and an intimidating force in the Middle East. I think my question would be like, how do you feel about Trump's style, like his messaging throughout the process? Because I think that's really where he gets knocked by his adversaries is that people think that he's just kind of chaotic or
Yes.
scattered. What's your take on that?
So his book, The Art of the Deal. I don't know if people have read it. I didn't read the full book, but I've reviewed it. I've looked at what he's saying. I've kind of like, okay, what is this guy thinking? I don't know if you read the book. Maybe you did, Matt. I'm not sure. I think people don't understand who Trump is. I think, again, he clearly states in his book, The Art of the Deal, that one, if someone attacks him, and this is not a Christian view, this is not what I would do, but this is Donald Trump has said this in his book. He said, this is what I do. If I get attacked by someone, I will triple that attack back. He says this in his book. Is that a Christian view? No. Am I condoning it? No. But clearly he has stated, this is what I'm going to do. And he does this all the time, right? And people are confused by it. I'm like, if you read his book and he clearly states, this is what I'm going to do, it's like, well, wait a second. Why are we confused, right? Like he kind of says, I'm going to do this to people. If they attack me, I'm attacking harder. And it could be the Pope. It could be anyone. And he doesn't care. Again, that's not a Christian worldview. I think that's what annoys people, right? And I agree, it's kind of annoying. So to me, like that doesn't make a lot of sense. But he does, in his own way, he has certain things that he believes in. That is one of those things that he does believe in. So even if I attacked him, right, he's going to triple it down and say, I'm a terrible person, you're an idiot, and he'll say all this stuff back, right? And he'll attack the hell out of someone that comes after him. I'd appreciate if they didn't do that in politics, or specifically Donald Trump. That's his style. I don't know if that's just New York style. I don't know what that comes from, but if you look at his book and his past history, it's clearly been stated this is who this man is, right? That doesn't mean though. So I think he fantasizes some things. I think he takes things out of context sometimes, but even on that part, in The Art of the Deal, he says when he's making deals with people, he will fantasize or he'll shift realities to make things seem a different way. And that's actually part of his strategy.
Yeah.
Again, it drives people that hate him crazy, but that's just what he's going to do. Again, I'm not going to defend that. I'm not going to defend that. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I think it's mostly wrong on that part. But if I just look at like what he's trying to accomplish, I guess the actions mostly are good because he's trying to make the world a safer place. I think, I think he's trying to make the economy a better thing for Americans. But yeah, I think on the personal side, that's where people have huge issues with him, which I do understand. But I don't know, Matt. It's like when you read his book or you kind of review some stuff he said in the past, I don't think anything's changed. Like, he is the exact same person he was, 30 years ago. So, if you put a president in that everyone kind of knows there's this one thing about him that we're a little bit annoyed by, I don't know, that's the American's choice, I guess. I would say this, in 2028, there will be a new president. They'll have a new wave of things they want to say about that next person. And it won't be Donald Trump. It will be somebody else. So the media, they just come after whoever's in that office anyways, but clearly the media hates Donald Trump. That's clearly what's going on. But I don't know. I think he's held pretty strong to who he actually is, which is way different than me. That's way different than you, I think. I would probably approach things a lot differently. Even if I was trying to do similar things from an economic perspective, would I attack people the way he does? No, that's not who I am. So I guess if you can get over some of the behaviors he shows, which again, I know he has said for many years, this is who he is. This is just how he's going to do it. I don't know. It's kind of hard, right? Like I get what you're saying too. It's like, it's sometimes hard to read what he's trying to accomplish with some stuff. He fantasizes to me. I think he makes it a fantasy almost, right? Or
I mean, he throws a lot of elbows, and I think maybe it all makes sense if you're his stream of consciousness and you're seeing the complete narrative, or like you're in his inner circle.
Yeah.
It seems to me like usually when he's misunderstood or when people are really upset with what he's saying, it's either taken without full context, or I mean, it's kind of like he's fantasize. Like I think for a lot of people, it's hard to tell when he's exaggerating or
Exactly.
mocking,
And that's why he does it.
Yeah, being sarcastic.
Yeah. It's hard to understand though. Seriously, I agree with you. If you're not in his circle, it's like
Yeah.
I get where he's like kind of coming from, but he's very confusing sometimes, right?
Yeah.
It's like if you had a boss, the CEO, who was like, said one thing at 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. change, and then 12 p.m. change, and then it's like, which way are we actually going with this? Now he says some things that stay the same, but it's like there's a lot of chaos within that, right? So
In
I don't
fairness,
know.
too, like
Yeah.
in fairness, I think a lot of brilliant people have that trait. Like I know
Yeah.
and people say that about Elon. They say that about, a lot of leaders who
Yeah.
are on a microphone very frequently, right? Like,
Yeah.
because I think the only way you actually kind of navigate a lot of these complex decisions is throwing a lot of ideas out there and getting feedback. And he's definitely fearless to, trying things out, try saying things in different ways and see how people respond, see what people are drawn to, what they're not.
Yeah. Do you see, off the personal side of Donald, because he is what he is, right? We know this.
Yeah.
What do you think, like, seriously about his economy, the Trump economy, the golden age, a lot of things he said? Do you think you see what he's trying to accomplish? Is it coming to fruition? Because he's saying this operation will end soon, right? So do you kind of see what he's trying to accomplish for you personally, or just like in general?
I probably don't know enough about which aspects of the economy are like attributable to things he's doing versus are like just a byproduct of the way the world is developing.
Yeah.
I think something about the economy that is really interesting to me is just the amount of money, obviously, that has flown into like microchips and AI and just the hardware that backs, AI and modern technology. Because when you just look at the economy today, look at like the 30 biggest market cap companies in America, it is insane how lopsided it is towards tech infrastructure.
Do you like that? I mean, you're a tech. I mean, you're in this world a little bit. Do you like that, or you think that's like not a good thing? What do you think?
I think I don't know. I think it's destabilizing. I mean, we definitely have a lot of eggs in one basket right now.
Yeah.
And so because of that, just like naturally, when you have so much capital in one vertical, depending on sentiment around that vertical, like stuff can move so quickly. I mean, we saw it like with the .com bubble, right? And right now it's happening again. The question is like, is it going to be stable growth now? Like how is the technology and these companies that have literally grown up from, $1 billion to $1 trillion in the last 2 years, like there's 3 or 4 of them. Like, how are they going to be able to actually turn all that capital and attention into good, perpetual products and outcomes, right? Like, is that actually going to be able to be the backbone of our economy and of what we're doing as Americans for the next decade? And I think that's what remains to be seen. Obviously, there's a ton of money moving into it. There's a lot of positive benefits and a lot of theoretical benefits to come. It's just the big question is going to be like how much of that really plays out into like tangible outcomes, and is something that we can grow on as a society for the next generation. It's a big, it's a big bet right now. So
do you think it's a winning bet? Do you think this will lead to the right thing? Meaning, we've had manufacturing, we've had revolutions of different types, right? Mm-hmm. Do you think this basically what they call it the Industrial Revolution, in a different way, but it's different than it was 20 years ago, right? It's
like the artificial
revolution. Yeah, I mean, that's a good way to put it. And you're kind of living it more than I am. So I mean, this is very interesting, actually. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the government, how much can they get into this though, too? Because a little bit is private. The government's also part of this. What do you see with that? Because let's say private, I don't know what the percentages are, but the government is hammering into NVIDIA and some of these companies, right? I just wonder like how much of it, the growth will be private versus the government investing in things. You know what I mean? Do you see anything with that?
I mean, I think that is a big piece of this puzzle that we're living in real time.
Yeah,
Like, I think early in his term, or in his second term, Trump was very clearly like in support of these big tech companies and investing domestically in AI and in infrastructure. And there's a lot of different, just like cultural, social feedback and turmoil right now around it. I think, I mean, it's gotten to the point where like the economy is so dependent on it just to remain stable that like I do think the government has to have it has to be collaborating with the providers of the technology, because I mean, just for otherwise it's kind of like both national security and like economic stability, right? Like I think that's obviously priority one for our government right now, is like keeping the providers of this tech kind of in check and also stable, with like, you know, still in like a capitalistic system. So like you still have to allow.
That's got to be hard.
Yeah,
though,
it's tricky.
right?
It's a hard balance, because like at what point does it become this kind of like oligarchy where Trump is working hand in hand with like Elon and Zuckerberg and whoever else?
Well, sometimes people think that.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they're already suggesting that. So that's what I wonder. It's like, okay, Trump's only here, by the way, until 2028.
Mm-hmm.
So the next president, whoever this is, right? I've always wondered, okay, whatever president is in the White House for 4 years, how do they hand things off better? And technology is a big one. So like, let's say the next person that comes in, you know, is the opposite of our current president and says, you know what? I don't like anything that Trump did. I'm reversing all the things we did with technology and AI. And I always worry about that. Like, because, okay, the previous president from Trump, Biden, reversed all kinds of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let all these illegal criminals, and I'm not going to say not all of them were criminals, but a lot of criminals came into our country.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about this on this podcast before. We're not against people coming into our country, right? But we are against illegal people with criminal records coming into our country and then causing chaos here. I always wonder about that. Okay, so let's say the next president doesn't care about regulations, doesn't care about a lot of things that you're talking about. How much could that hurt us as a country, right? Because let's say NVIDIA and all Elon is a big one, but let's say the next president hates those guys and like, nope, we're not dealing with those guys. We're not going to help them. We're not going to, do the same thing that Trump did. I really see that being maybe the next wave of like kind of interesting issues and regulations, like, because again, people choose a side, right? Like, your side, AI technology is beautiful and it should be blossoming and making our country a great place. Mm-hmm. But sometimes, the people that are running our country they're not in it for the American people.
Yeah.
And let's be clear, that's just true. Like, not every president that's gone to the White House has had our best interests in mind, I don't think. Mm-hmm. So again, it's like, how do we regulate that? Because a president can come in and make an executive order and change something very detrimental to us too. So I'm just wondering how that works in AI and technology, because national security with this stuff is crazy. Mm-hmm. You get one product that can, it can infiltrate banks. It can do all this stuff, right? I wonder if the president just doesn't care. Like, whatever, let him go. I'm not going to put regulations on it. I'm not going to, it's kind of crazy, but that kind of happened with illegal criminals coming into our country. They just turned their backs to it. They said, that's how it goes. Wait a second. So we're trying to protect the American people by allowing a bunch of illegal criminals into our country that are murderers. So I'm just saying, I'm suggesting not everyone's out there for the good of America. And, we don't know who the next president's going to be, or 2032 who that will be. It's just like, wow, that could really, again, I hope the American people understand this stuff, because it can quickly turn into a very negative thing, right? So, and I'm not saying Trump's a perfect president, but to be fair, he has done a good job of getting illegal criminals out, right? Maybe some things are controversial. I agree on some stuff, but it's like we should try to protect people. We should try to make sure AI and technology has some limits, or it's not going to infiltrate the wrong thing, right? So it's just intriguing on that side, like what it's going to be in the future, to me at least. And maybe I'm talking about it as kind of a novice person because I don't deal with it every day, but that's just what comes to my mind. Presidents actually do matter in this stuff, I think, and how we're kind of approaching it and how we're helping it move forward. You can add to that. Sorry.
No, I think you have to, at some point, like everyone's going to have their kind of first principles of how they think about the problem.
Yeah.
I think one that is like important to me is kind of the idea of like capitalism and humanity and having a high level of trust that like smart, good people will always exist. And if you create a competitive landscape where those people can, within the bounds of the law, like as in they're not actively,
As long as we're not a lawless society.
yeah, like as long as it's like,
which
you don't,
I'm sorry, the last 4 years we were dealing with
yeah,
became
that's the
more and
thing,
more
right?
lawless.
You have to be careful that
Yeah.
like that the characteristics that your market selects for are good, right? And
Yeah.
that's like the entire. That's like the Declaration of Independence,
Yeah,
pretty much, right?
But
It's
some
like
people hate
life,
that.
liberty- well,
but some people hate the Declaration of Independence.
but
which
so
makes no
it's- yeah.
sense.
Well, the problem is like when you build, it's when you build a system where like it's selecting for traits like deceit and
Yeah.
like tolerance for manipulating or hurting others, then that's when you end up with these insane outcomes, right? Like where, so like, and this is like pretty abstract, but like, I think that's what I'm always mindful of is like, okay, how can we look at this problem and the things being said through the lens of what do I care about first and foremost? Like, what's my first principles here? I care that we have a system where people who are honest, intelligent, diligent, faithful, like true, right?
Yeah.
That they have opportunities to rise. And if not that they get like an unfair pedestal, but that your system selects for those traits. And if you do that better than others, you'll at least be able to compete, right? Like there's not barriers to you competing unless you've like clearly disqualified yourself by whatever, killing somebody or like creating a system that is truly hurtful.
Yeah.
So back to like the current situation with like AI going crazy and all this money moving into this set of like, really like 5 companies, but let's call it like tens of companies, right? There's a lot of capital that's suddenly been concentrated in certain settings. I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing to have a system that enables people that have the best answers, have the true answers, and that can give them to people and actually like bring benefit.
Yeah.
I think that's why a public market is really important. But yeah, you just need to do it within reason. Like you need to make sure, and like the ways that how do you keep it in reason? Well, the first and foremost, like you need to make sure that the American military is the strongest in the world, right? That like, and I get that concerns people because it's like, well, how do you make sure that the person steering the ship doesn't like use it in abusive ways? But like domestically, you need a strong military. Like you need to like very, very tangibly, you need to keep the people aware and respectful of your presence, right? And you need clear principles that are like shared. And like I feel like the biggest thread that we've lost in the last decade is just like the shared American mission and like, the Pledge of Allegiance kind of values, right? Like how do we make sure that everybody hears these things and is like conscientious of these things in a world that's so full of all this other noise.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm like, I do think in general, again, like that the development of AI with some level of like a nationalistic America first ideal is, in my opinion, like the best way to grow it, and to do it in a way that like is beneficial for us all. But it's like anytime there's a big amount of momentum and change, there's a lot of inefficiency and a lot of people that can suffer. So yeah, we're like in the middle of a bit of a revolution, like not necessarily, a revolution in sense of war, but like in just an artificial economic, technological revolution. I mean, it's fascinating. I feel like we're lucky to be here to witness it and to like try to learn from it and have a positive influence on it to the extent that we can as individuals. But I think the best thing that you can do, like outside of just like what you actually personally build or contribute, it's like sharing those, vocalizing those ideals and sharing those with people, and like being mindful to like remind people of like, hey, what's the point of this all? Like, how are we trying to look out for each other and have a shared moral compass in this pursuit? It's
which can be tough, right?
because it requires doing it every day. Like you have to wake up every day and you got to think like, okay, how am I gonna recenter myself today so that I make sure that these are the first things that I'm doing. And it reminds me of like which we talked about before, is like the only way that you can have a positive effect on those around you and the world around you is to kind of sort your own self out first and have practices of like making sure that you're kind of aligned going into each day. I think that's big for me, and my job is like, making sure that like, okay, how do I want to show up today? How do I want to make sure that like the decisions I'm making are healthy, good, positive, sustainable, whether that be through like religious practice or through exercise or through whatever, saying the Pledge of Allegiance like we used to in elementary school to start the day, right? Like,
my kids still do.
Yeah, which is awesome. And I think that that's something a lot of people lose as they move into like adulthood.
You're right. No, I mean, my kids really like that too. They enjoy that. You know, they kind of know what the words mean. And yeah, you're right. It's like, how do we get society I mean, you're not going to always get everyone, but get a majority of them like really focus on the right things. Obviously it starts with faith, I think, but if we can get people to just like understand that all of this is based on, you know, the American ideals, right? The Declaration of Independence, the things that were done for us so long ago now, but 250 years, right, is coming up, celebrating that. And it's like, you know, if you really think back, it goes back to the beginning to me, and everything you're saying, like if you really think about why we're a country and why we are what we are, it's like, wow, we were trying to break free from oppression and trying to get rid of like this lack of freedom. And it's so interesting that now you look at current America, and I think a part of America wants that still. I think a part wants to be a God-based society and wants to have faith and wants freedom and all the beautiful things that come with America, right? And then you get a portion of them who, for whatever reason, want other things. They don't want what we want, right? They don't buy into our American values and freedoms and all the things that we want. So I think that's where it's really difficult, because you're seeing shifts in our society in America, and you're seeing socialism in certain places. You're seeing all these things happening in front of you. But I agree, Matt. It's like, you know, if we could keep ourselves moving in the right direction, you and me, right? If we can keep going in the right path and really focus on the right things, it's like, you know, not every single person will do that. There's too many people, there's too many opinions, but if we can keep ourselves moving in that right direction and trying to talk to people around us and, you know, trying to keep faith in what's going to happen, obviously that helps, right? What I was going to trigger off of all this was, I was going to ask you, so Trump is going to China. Talking about AI, you're talking, you know, you said 5 companies have really exploded and done a great job, and maybe it's more, but let's say the 5, right? Do you think those companies should have any involvement with China? Do you think they should be able to help China, sell chips to China, make money with China? Because we know China steals our technology. They try to, you know, manipulate us. They try to do all kinds of stuff. There are like positives to China too, but we're just kind of speaking facts. They've tried to do a lot of bad things to America, and they want to overtake us. They want to do things to us that are not necessarily good. Do you think, like, okay, American companies, NVIDIA is one good example. Do you think their chips should be sold to China? That's a hard question, you know.
Yeah. My first instinct is yes. I think like almost always when you have barriers and competition, it's like the less kind of cross pollination, the less collaboration or like shared mission you have, like the worse the outcomes become. So my first instinct is like, yeah, it's good to have healthy, free international trade, and to have like a shared human mission that preempts a national mission. It's hard though. I mean, it's obviously hard because it's like there is obviously like deceit and there's self-interest and there's all these other things that can go wrong. But at the end of the day, like whatever we make here, as soon as it enters a public market, like China's gonna, reverse engineer everything.
Yeah.
Just like we do to anything they release. It's like,
so you're more of the let's just be free trade. Yeah. They can have stuff from any company in America and just see what happens, kind of thing.
Well, I think I agree with free trade. I think like outsourcing manufacturing is a little bit of a different issue, but I think like free trade is I'm like that. Yeah, I'm pretty pro free trade.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
but again, you're seeing like fear mongering on all this stuff, right? I'm very interested in, because I've heard this a little bit. The NVIDIA chip is pretty powerful, and I believe, and maybe you can fact check me, but Trump and America in general has been very hesitant to let China have this stuff. So I'm not sure what's going to happen. Again, I'm of the mindset like, okay, I get the U.S. isn't perfect, but we seem to do a lot of great things in the world. We seem to change a lot of people's outcomes in a good way, right? We try to, even with Iran, that's just one example, but a lot of what we're trying to do is just like let them be a more free society, I think, right? Like the people are out there getting killed by their own government. And if you want to defend that, I have no idea why you want to defend that. Tell me why that makes any sense to you.
I think the only like semi-valid defense is kind of like the opportunity cost, or like, is it worth the destabilizing, and also is that the number one place to be putting our attention?
Yes,
but
I've heard that too. But then the other side is, would anyone ever do it? And then they nuke us and we're all dead. I think, Trump fantasizes a little bit. I get it. So for 47 years, this one country specifically has chanted death to America, and no one has done anything about it really. Right. So I'm not defending or, I'm not in the military, never dealt with war as much, but just how I think about it, I'm like, just America in general, right? We are just a force of good. We trust people. We believe that people have our values. Yeah. And I think sometimes what happens is, even in Iran, we want to somehow make them out to be an okay place. They're awful. And it's like, if you go back to World War II, and I've watched tons of documentaries, read a lot, and if you really think about it, why the hell did we wait so long? It's like America is very good at a lot of things, but we wait until the very last second. Mm-hmm. That we've done this multiple times, and it's like, I think what Trump, to me at least, he never has said this, but he didn't want a nuclear bomb to drop and then respond. And I agree with him. I think, again, we are so good at like, let's wait. Oh, shit. Now we got to go do something. We've done this multiple times. We've done this over the years, many 100 years from here, right? 1941 or whatever, December 7th, we're looking at it like, holy shit, we got to respond. But it's like, to me, why didn't we do something 5 years previous to that? We knew who Hitler was. We knew some bad things were happening, but America sat back and said, well, they're pretty far away. Mm-hmm. They're over there. We're not, So I do think America sometimes has this problem of we don't want to go deal with it, but no one else will either. So either we go deal with it or it's going to be a bigger problem for us, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Again, World War II is different. I'm not saying this is World War III, but I just think a lot of times we sit back and wait, and I'm like, if you think about it, it's in football. I'll use an analogy. We're winning the game 42-28. Okay. It's fourth quarter. the defensive coordinator says, well, we got a 14-point lead. Let's just back off a little bit. I feel like America has a lead in so many things in the world, and they kind of like, they're playing a little bit of prevent defense sometimes, right? I think Trump is actually taking the opposite approach. He's up 42-28. He's winning. He says, you know what, screw it. I'm going to pound him. We're going to go up 60-28. And I don't know, again, is that right or wrong? You can make your own decisions, but I do believe it's better to be responsive and proactive versus reactive to what might happen. And I think he was worried, man. I think, again, you know, it's like Pearl Harbor happened because we waited. And again, that's our choice. America sometimes is hesitant to join a war internationally, which I understand. But I think he saw something in Iran that he had to end. And I actually agree with him. And I think people are also upset, like he's not taking these deals. I'm just going to guess. Again, I don't know Trump. I'm not in his cabinet, but he is going to get the absolute best deal possible and try to give Iran basically nothing. And, you know, we're already up, man. We're already winning this. We're up big. We're up by 5 touchdowns, right? Like we beat the hell out of them. But let's play this into China. China is a big deal, I think, in the world. And I think Trump has tried to become friends with President Xi. And, you know, it talks very friendly and like all the stuff in the media. Behind the scenes, I really wonder what's actually going on. It's very interesting because it's like we took control of the Venezuelan stuff and China hates that. Okay. Trump wants the Panama Canal. China tried to do stuff there. And now we're like fighting back against that a little bit. China, you know, has tried to buy a bunch of land in America, right around our military sites. They're doing all kinds of weird stuff. That's not weird. They're trying to make a strategic thing happen. They're trying to get near our military sites. They're trying to create some chaos in the future. They're a long-term thinking country. And again, it's like they're not going to do anything tomorrow, but China could do something soon. We don't know when. Yeah. Are we just going to sit back and say, well, they haven't done anything yet? Again, I think a lot of the setup that Trump and our government, what they're trying to accomplish is actually stopping some of the strategic things that China is trying to accomplish. And if we want to go into China's country and the communist methods, it's like they're a terror. Like if you really look at what they're doing to their own people, again, I don't think anyone wants to live there. I don't think any American would honestly say, yes, I want to move to China and be under a communist regime. And like a lot of the things that they deal with are terrible. And I'm sure the people are great, but the government is terrible, right? They're trying to control, they're trying to manipulate all the stuff coming out of there. So again, I think, you know, the U.S. is trying to strategically get in a better position against China. And again, it could be Trump, it could be the next president or the next president. We got to kind of play that long-term game of like, let's help people. Let's make sure, yes, we are a God-based society. But when you realize like China is not a God-based society, they don't believe in God. They are different than us. They don't believe in Christianity. There's underground Christianity in China. Like obviously Catholicism is there somewhere. But if you look up the religion of the Communist party, it doesn't say they believe in God. It doesn't say they believe in Christianity. It doesn't believe any of this stuff. So even the basic values that they deal with on a daily basis are so different than you and I, Matt, that it's like we got to be careful, like trusting people too much or not. Like, let's not underestimate what they could do to us, right? And I think that's what Trump's saying actually is when you listen to him talk about China and the strategic things that he's trying to accomplish, I think it is actually to do a lot with oil and gas, and it's a lot to do with military strategy. And he's just trying to make sure we prevent a bigger thing from happening. And Iran is a bigger part of China than probably people know, but China is a big culprit trying to help Iran and all the crazy stuff they do. But, it's even China has to understand, like, America is actually good for you, China. Like, we actually make you a lot of money. We help you. We do all kinds of things for you. But I just don't think it's like being with a spouse that says, I'm going to do it my way. You do it your way. We're not going to work together. It's like, well, we could work together and make it 20 times better, but instead of doing that, let's just make it like half as good as it could be. China they could be so good with us, right? We could be such strong partners. We could be actually quite amazing, I think. And that's what I miss on the whole economy thing is like China actually could help us immensely. They just want to run things in more of the communist way. And that's very unfortunate because if they would just do it a little bit more like we do it, holy shit, man, I think they'd explode. They actually probably would beat us. Their economy would grow way past our economy if they just did it more like us.
Well, yeah. I think that that culture is so baked into China now, though. Like the communist, they're a communist country, right? So like the entire idea of like individual liberties just doesn't exist. Like you basically replace individualism and, for a lot of Americans, like their idea of God and faith and religion, that's largely replaced by the idea of like government providing.
Your government's your God.
Like it's kind of your overseer.
Sorry, I went on a random tangent. Go on.
No, it's
I know.
I'm just going on a random tangent too now. But like it's hard. It's like how do you reconcile those worldviews? Like because we're in America, it's so like people in America generally reject any sort of government or what they perceive as like an overseer or control. That's like foundational, like life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. We don't want to be taxed. We don't want to be controlled. We don't want external forces telling us right from wrong. We want to come to those conclusions ourselves, and then we want to be free to share them and vocalize them and debate about them and evolve them. And ideally, like in the fullness of time, continue to grow and get better and give more freedoms and more capacity to individuals. That's the whole goal. And again, China is like, it's very different. It's more like a hive mind approach where you have like an overseeing government that's responsible for checks and like literally making sure individuals are siloed into a function for this greater body, and like controlling speech, controlling career choices, controlling who gets what, when, like the entire function of like wealth in China, I think is completely different because it's not a free market in the same way. It's like you basically get told by the government, oh, you're doing well at this. You reached XYZ checkpoints. You get a little bit more influence, and we're going to continue to monitor you and make sure like that we like the way it's balancing out with the whole.
You
it's
say
just
one wrong thing about the government, you're dead though.
Yeah. Well, there was a fascinating thing I heard recently, and this is totally a different tangent.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
There's some people believe that the population in China is completely fabricated.
Okay. Tell me. I haven't heard.
I was looking at this the other day.
Okay,
It's
okay.
actually crazy.
Yeah.
So China's supposed to have like 1.4 billion people, I think. They had this enormous boom in population in like the 50s.
Okay.
And then obviously the one-child policy came into effect. And it was something like if you look at the actual population in China and the average children per couple, right? Every couple would have to have like 2.5 kids or so to replace your population.
Yeah.
And China claims, like from their census, to have continued to grow at a pretty like decent rate, or at least maintain population for the last like 50 years. And it's just like the math isn't mathing. Like it doesn't make sense that you'd have the population they did when they implemented the one-child policy, and that 50, 60 years later, I don't know how long it's been actually, but like that the population would have reached where they claim it is today.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's like, it's fascinating because so much of like the data and the statistics and the communication coming from China is so government controlled. It's like, how do you really know
They're lying.
what's happening on the ground? Like,
They're lying. They're lying
it's
about their
interesting.
GDP. They're lying about their population.
Yeah.
They lie about a lot of things because they don't care. I mean, if you look at statistics, like you said, I actually saw something where, China does rely on Iran and oil and those things a decent amount, actually. So when some of this operation stuff started with the U.S., everyone was kind of, everyone's like, oh, China's going to suffer. Like their GDP is going to drop and there's going to be some problems, right? So, China comes out with their first quarter GDP at like, I don't know, some crazy, really good number. And everyone, I actually heard a lot of these economists and business people like, listen, totally fabricated. There's absolutely no way, they were around a 5% GDP. So my question is, like, why the hell do we listen to anything they say? Because they lie about GDP, business, economics. They lie about their population. They lie about, treatment of workers. They lie about, they pollute the hell out of our earth, by the way. If you want to go into other things, pollution, just like all the things that they are doing to hurt most of the world, it's like, yeah, I just don't get why anyone really gives them a platform, because most of what they are doing is deception, lying. They're not going to give you the true stats. And again, other countries might be doing this a little bit, but I just feel like China, and if you just look at their GDP numbers from the last quarter, totally fabricated, makes no sense, right? But here we are saying China's a threat. Well, what if everything they're saying is actually a complete lie? Their military is terrible. You know what I mean? It's like all the things are actually not true, right? So I think that's what I did like what you said, maybe free trade and just be more open to it is what it is. They're going to steal it anyways. Yeah. And, they're going to make dumb rules. They're a communist country. They're going to hurt themselves. They're going to have self-inflicted wounds, right? Like, so maybe you're more spot on than I've heard with other people that we shouldn't be so worried. Maybe it is, they're lying about a lot of these things that we're thinking. They're still going to lie. They're still going to deceive, but maybe they're not as big as a threat as some people might think. But
yeah, and if I just try to fall back on my own like personal values, it's like, well, you want to value human life and you want to create like the intention of mankind is to like create and perpetuate good, truthful, beneficial things and look out for one another. So it's like, okay, well, how do you do that in this super complicated world?
Yeah.
Well, I think a big part of that is putting your efforts into like building like secure, helpful tools and and giving those to people and teaching those to people in a way the person's not gonna like hurt themselves, but like can actually use it to advance their own well-being and learn from it and then go and do the same. So yeah, I guess for that reason, it's like, okay, well, how can we have free trade with like an appropriate degree of like regulations to make sure that it's also like secure and safe? But I don't know, man, it's hard.
That's a complicated question. So, we're not going to answer that today, but I understand what you're saying. So NVIDIA chips, super powerful. You see all this stuff out there in the media. I'd actually say, the more you're talking about it, it's like they're going to steal it anyways. Like why? I don't know why we limit, why are we limiting that specific thing? Again, there's got to be some regulations, but they're going to steal it. They're going to figure out a way to find out what we're doing anyways. But again, it's like maybe, us as Christians, or if you're a Jew or whatever, right? We have very similar ways of kind of doing things, right? Like, why is Israel a Jewish, country working with the U.S., which is Christian, but also a lot of Jewish, a lot of God-based belief, right? It's like, well, because we're actually more similar than we are different, right? Now, China, a communist country, is actually very different than us. Cuba's very different. Iran's very different. So it's like, I think that's what happens sometimes in our societies was we try to help the people that are more similar to us. And this happens in America, right? You have 5 people lined up, 2 Christians, 2 Jews, and someone that doesn't believe in God. And, it's like, you should try to talk to all of them and try to help them however you can, no matter what they believe in. And maybe that's the bigger point is like, it doesn't matter if someone is Chinese or if they're American atheist or whatever they are. I guess the bigger calling that we have is to be the best person we can for that person, right? We're trying to help them. If they ask about religion and they want to have a talk, just have an open heart to it. And maybe they don't really want to know. They're just trying to get you to talk. Who knows? Just have that ability to, seriously, right? Because we're called to share the message from Jesus and the Gospels or share some of this stuff. And it's like, well, you could go to China, for example. They don't have a religion as a country. But let's say, and I know this is true, so there's like underground Christianity going on, right, in a country like that. maybe, someone hears this podcast and they're like, oh, they're talking about some cool stuff. They're talking about some Christianity. Maybe they get something out of it. And I mean, the communist country is going to hate us, Matt, right? Like they're not going to like a lot of the things we're saying, but maybe like the actual individuals who are a lot more like us than we realize, they love to hear some stuff that we're talking about and how we're actually more similar than different, right? Again, people are people. Yeah. Sure, people do, they do crazy stuff. They get, mental disease, or they get manipulated into probably thinking in a very incorrect way and hurting the world. But in general, I think a lot of people in China and Iran and all these places are more similar to us than we realize. And I think sometimes in the media, they don't really portray that, right? They just, China's bad. This is what I hear, at least. If I watch the news at all, it's always like, how is China trying to take over the sea and do that? I'm like, the constant fear mongering is crazy to me because, one, I'm not in the military. What am I going to do about that? I have no idea. Why are we constantly focused on, where this boat is versus, what strategy are they trying to use? If I went over to China, I'm sure I'd meet a lot of great people. And even President Trump, who all these people in the media slam him and say what a terrible person he is. He goes over to China. President Xi treats him amazingly well. Like everything, it looks like so much respect between these two people. But yet the media will sit there and say, yeah, this guy's terrible. And, all the things that they say. And I'm like, yeah, but why do all these leaders around the world still treat him with respect? Again, it's like, because humans are humans. Again, they might not have the same beliefs, but, you might hate Donald Trump. You might hate, go down to the next person. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what position you're in. Treat people with respect. Try to see what they're trying to say. Try to see their side of things. Doesn't mean you need to agree with them, but I think that's kind of what's happened is with Donald Trump. People have really manipulated the whole situation to be like, well, I hate Donald Trump. I hate Republicans. It's become like this line of things that they say, right? Mm-hmm. Well, wait, does that mean Republicans should hate liberals just because you're a liberal? No. Again, it's like, I just hate that game. I hate this political game of because you might align with one view of economics or whatever, that you're a bad person. I think that's really interesting, right? And we've talked about it before, but, I'm friends with people that don't believe in God. I'm friends with people that are a different religion than me. Because that's not how I look at people. They could say, hey, I voted for this person. And I say, well, I voted for that person. Oh, okay. Let's move on to the next thing. Yeah. You're a good person, right? We're just hanging out. We're talking. I think too many people get caught up in this crap. Again, if you're just using China versus the U.S., we are different. We approach things differently, yes. But I think if you found 95% of those people in China are very similar to Americans, it's like, that's kind of the whole point of what you're trying to say, I think, is just humans should try to help humans and just kind of work together and try to create a society and a world where we're all trying to move in the right direction. And most of us are. Just because there's a 4 or 5% of them that are not, it's like, don't let that sway your mind of not everyone's bad. Not everyone's evil. Not everyone is corrupt, right? Now there are those people, yes, but if we lived in that way, maybe our world would be a little bit better, right?
Yeah. And the ultimate friction is just I think most people are good. Most people, if you put them in a room together, they will get along. Not everybody, but most people, they'll find common ground. What's hard is that people are also self-interested because we're wired to survive, and so the world is kind of one big game of telephone, and the people that you're not getting their messages, it's like you kind of lose interest, or you make decisions for your own benefit that affect them negatively, whether you mean to or not. And that's where all of this politics and borders and all this stuff comes into play. So it's like, okay, how do we navigate it all? And yeah, I mean, it's tricky, but all you can do at the end of the day is figure out how to make healthy decisions and help the people that are around you, and bear in mind the principles of how you want to go about providing and building and supporting, so that you can do it in a way that is gonna endure, and that is not, not gonna create conflict and enemies.
Yeah.
Right. And definitely easier said than done. But it's fascinating. And it's the world that we live in. So
Yeah, I think it's every day we all deal with this. I mean, you could go into just your own personal situations. It's like, I'm sure God, when he made man, right, Adam, and all the things were set up to be beautiful and perfect, and then sin entered the world, right? It's like, God's view of us as humans. It's like, wow, we're quite a mess and chaotic sometimes because that's just how it is, right? There's sin everywhere. There's things that, I have no control of the person next to me. I mean, we could talk, we can try to work through disagreements, all this stuff, right? You just wonder if you're like, man, God had this beautiful vision. A lot of it went a different direction, but even despite that, somehow for 250 years, America has been, this is my opinion. Again, people might not believe we're a force of good, but I think we are. We've been for 250 years a force of good. I've been around the world. I've gone to a lot of different countries, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I go to Europe. I've recently went to Ireland. I've been to Iceland. I've been, like I said, many places in Europe. I've been to Costa Rica, Mexico, all over the U.S., Canada. I'm like, there's just something different about America. Like we are just different. We have a different setup. We have a different infrastructure. Even our phones and the way we do things, it's just better. I'm sorry. Like you just go everywhere in the world, you compare it to where I live today. This is just better, man. And I was in Ireland. It's beautiful. I'm not saying it's not a nice place, but where I live currently is like, I don't know, 30, 40% better than what I experienced in Ireland. Again, there's beautiful nature. There's beautiful things in Ireland, but the infrastructure, the way things are done, it's like, man, America just knows how to do it. They just know what they're doing because of capitalism, because of faith in God and all the things that we are based on, like you said earlier, it's like all the things we were originally made from and all the things that we value. Look what it's turned into in 250 years. I think give us another 250 years, the leaps that we will make as a people and as a country. It's like, again, Europe is old. You go to Europe, it's old as hell, right? Like you got the Colosseum in Rome, you have the Vatican, you have, Ireland, there's very old things as well, actually. There's a lot of Catholic influence there too. So, you see a lot of these things that are going on in Europe right now, and it's a very old society. It's like, I'd actually say they're fracturing, right? There's a fracture in what's going on in Europe and a lot of these places. And at least I think, Donald Trump is just one voice, but I think in general, Americans that believe in what we do and believe in our values. And I think there's almost a revival of like believing that America's a good place, right? That we do good for others, that I know there's a revival in church and faith and attendance at actual physical locations too. I think this is a real thing that's actually being studied, right? But I just think there's more and more people that believe in what we're doing as a country. And honestly, it's like, I don't get why, like when I go to Europe, to me, and maybe I'm way off, but it's not as nice. I don't know if you feel that way, but a lot of the things and the infrastructures are not nearly as nice. And I know it's old society, it's all that stuff. But the way America has done things and developed things, it's like a lot of that is to do, all the good people come here. All the great minds they end up in America, right? Albert Einstein ended up in America for many reasons. Elon Musk is a worldwide kind of phenom, right? He's not from America. So anyways, like he ended up in America because wow, maybe there I could actually make a difference more than I could there in South Africa. It's just like, it's pretty amazing to me that, a lot of Americans kind of hate on our country, and I just don't get it because all the great minds and people seemingly all come here. Yeah. So like, why is that still the case? At least in what I've seen, I see it clearly even I go to a grocery store, I go to a restaurant in a different country, and I've been to a lot of countries in Europe, and I'm like, it's fine. Like, again, like they don't do it as well as America does it. And they do it at a much, smaller scale than we do it. Right. So we just have so many more options here. It's just pretty incredible to me that people don't realize that. And maybe people that are saying this stuff have never been to Europe. Maybe they've never been outside of America. So maybe there's a limit on knowledge and maybe they just don't realize it. But ignorance is still ignorance, right? Like you got to realize America is so good at so many things and gives you so many opportunities. There's nowhere else that I would want to go. And it's like, that's what I don't understand about current day Americans, not realizing that one, there's history here, right? 250 years. There's a reason we got rid of the kings in our lives and the problems that we were dealing with. But I don't get why they don't realize that, truly we are in the greatest country in the world and probably the greatest country that ever has existed in the history of humans. But people don't see that sometimes. And that's what kind of amazes me, I guess. But
yeah, I think a lot of people don't see or don't understand that we do live in such a free society.
yeah,
And I think part of that too is like as an adult in this society, I think there is an obligation to like communicate that,
Yeah.
like to celebrate that, to emphasize that, to celebrate the 4th of July, to celebrate individual liberties and freedom and, like equality and growth and, and like cherish those values and to like represent those values and also to represent them with like the American flag and the, like our service people in America and like all these things. Cause I feel like what's happened so much is that there's so much negativity associated with, America in the last like 2 decades, that people's rhetoric has like in certain circles, it's gotten so negative about our country. And like what happens when you go spreading those messages is it almost creates an excuse for people to not live by our founding principles because you're like, oh, America is deceitful. It's controlling. It's negative for whatever reason. And then you can go out in the world and you can act deceitful and controlling and be like, oh, well, whatever. That's the country we're living in.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the time people create this kind of excuse for themselves to permit their own.
they don't want to live with the sins they're committing.
Yeah.
And the values that could be
yeah.
there for them, right?
Yeah. And they can write it off to like, oh, our government is this way or our
The
society
sinful
is
heart,
this way.
they're blinded. They're blinded.
Yeah.
right?
And it's like, you got to clean your own conscience, your own heart, your own spirit.
I love that.
And for me, a big part of that is like believing and aligning myself with those like fundamental American values and saying, no, I do live in this society that is free and just and, has equality in the pursuit of liberty. I'm going to go out in the world and reflect those because that's like, I'm proud and grateful to be a part of that society. So now I'm going to go abide by those values and share them with the world. And I think we need more of that. We just need people that will advocate for those and weave them into their life and look for those things in our society and in our government rather than all of these sinful negative excuses that I think have maybe it's always been this way, but especially lately, like just these excusing kind of like poor behavior because politics or because whatever, rather than being like, no, I'm going to actually elevate to the principles that we were founded on.
I like that a lot. I don't know how much I can add to that because that was like perfect, honestly, to kind of end our day here. But the only other thing I would add to what you said is, stop being a victim.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what you're kind of saying. But like, I completely agree, Matt. Just stop being a victim. Stop acting like everyone owes you something. Start working your ass off. You're in a free country that truly you can do great things. And I agree exactly. If you take your individual self to a higher level and you don't accept bad things and you really live by American values, like no one is saying you're going to be a trillionaire. That's not what we're even talking about. Just you will be a better person. You will live a better life. You will help your friends and your family and the people around you. And the more people we have like that in our lives, even for Matt and I think the better people we are, and that helps us elevate as well. So,
yeah.
All right. I think that's a good day. And those are powerful words you had a great finish. So I really appreciate that. That was actually really good. That's a clip right there. That was freaking awesome. I could not have said that better. That was good.
Man, thanks for bringing the topic. I think it was a good conversation.
Yeah. Well, it's all too easy. Woo! I don't know, Matt.